here with Jesse. We got another technique for you today. I want to work on our stances, particularly one of our fundamental stances, which we call horseback riding stance. A horseback riding stance looks just like it sounds, like we're riding a horse. We're going to bend both of our knees, our feet are straight forward, and our weight is centered over our hips. Let's have Jesse demonstrate real quick. And I can kind of point out some common mistakes that I see. So one of the first mistakes I see is people's feet are turned out. We want to make sure that those toes are parallel and straight forward. It's going to provide us a nice stable base. We want our knees bent. We want our height at the same height it would be if we were in our front stance or back stance or cat stance or any other of our stances. So it should be pretty low. Now another thing we see a lot, Jesse, can you turn sideways real quick for me?
Sure.
Is they kind of kick out their butt. See this, like the butt is kicked out like this. We want to make sure that we're centered over our hips. That's going to be very important. Okay, so centered over your hips, feet straight forward. Those are the two big things. The last thing I sometimes see is our feet, can we turn straight forward again one more time, Jesse? Is our feet are just too far apart. They're so far apart that we lose the ability to maintain the same height with our other stances, as well as our mobility altogether. And we don't gain any power to generate, any ability to generate more power from that deeper stance. So remember, we want to think about this. Jesse, if I can take the stage here real quick. We want to have our knees bent so far that it's difficult to hold, but not so far that it's very difficult to jump up. Okay, like if you were going to do a prison squat or something, where you're going to bend down and jump up, that distance is about the distance of your horseback riding stance. And the reason why that is because horseback riding stance is principally for two reasons. One is to help us generate power when we're punching from square, when our shoulders are square as opposed to be in our side stance. The other reason is for grappling and for when we're doing like our hip throws, for example. So, Jesse, if I can borrow you real quick.
Sure.
When we do our hip throw, we don't want our legs too far apart. If our legs are too far apart, we have no more power left in our legs. We actually want our feet kind of close together. Of course, our horseback riding stance is going to be a bit exaggerated. So we're going to be way out here. Whereas in reality, when we do our hip throw, we're going to be in a little bit closer. But that is one of its applications. Another application is when I'm moving around with Jesse in a grappling position and I gain side control. Actually, let me come this side. And I gain side control here, guys. My feet are parallel and nice and tight up against his body. This is another great application of our horseback riding stance. So, what are some things you can do with a partner to get better at your horseback riding stance? Well, you can work on those hip throws. Okay. You can also work on getting in your horseback riding stance and punching back and forth. This one not so much with a partner, but one of the things we really want to see when you're punching in horseback riding stance is that your hip is moving. Some schools of thought will teach you to keep your shoulders square to maintain your center line, but you're losing all the power of your hip. And it's rocking back and forth in your stance, but not shifting side to side, that you want to learn how to do so that you can translate that power up here in more of a applicable fighting stance. That's a horseback riding stance. Just to review, knees bent, centered over your hips, butt's not out, your feet are straight forward, and to your side. Thank you for joining us for this lesson. Let's keep training hard.